The new boss of the Met Office has warned climate change is very real and the world's populations will feel its impact in the coming years. Professor Penny Endersby said that her post at the Exeter-based institution coincides with this huge world challenge and the demands on its weather predicting services will be greater than ever. She said, "We are experiencing the 10 warmest years in human history. Considering last year's summer and increasing flooding events, people are beginning to say, was that caused by climate change? And they are asking the question, what shall we do? What does that mean for government organizations?" Speaking in her first interview since taking up the chief executive role in December, Professor Endersby said that the Met Office's Hadley Center has become a world-leading institution on climate change since it was opened in 1990 by Margaret Thatcher. And while it is the job of the politicians to act on its findings, she warned that it will take everything that we've got to limit the damage of man-made climate change. She said, "There is no doubt that doing something rather than doing nothing will have an effect, and that is within all of our gift. But there is a high rate of what she terms solution aversion to climate change, when people deny there is a problem because they don't like the answer. In President Trump's case, perhaps. I'm not going to go there," she said. "Our job is to provide the evidence." She said that as a scientist, she approaches the issue by not trying to solve the problem as one overwhelming whole. She said, "You don't get the answer by looking at the whole picture, but by breaking it down. That helps to make me more determined rather than helpless or panic-stricken. I'm not a big moviegoer, but I think it would have to be Skyfall. I was working in the cyber division at the time and I thought I really ought to see this. Favorite book? My all-time favorite is Pride. However, I really have very much enjoyed Weatherland, Writers and Artists Under English Skies by Alexandra Harris, which documents how weather has been portrayed in art and literature over the centuries. I thought it was quite apt in taking this job. Favorite Devon beauty spot? I'm really still exploring, but I love the estuary. I'm a keen bird watcher, so I love the area down at Bowling Green Marsh on the X. Favorite weather? I really love the snow, the kind you can play in rather than can't get to work in. Having said that, I love that first day in March when you can go out in just your shirt sleeves. It's hard to imagine in the midst of winter that day will ever come again." Professor Endersby's appointment comes after a period of flux at the Met Office. She takes the reins from Nick Jobling, who stood in after the sudden departure of Rob Varley in March. Mr. Varley was instrumental in bringing the Met Office of Exeter and its massive investment in the supercomputer that has acted as a catalyst for the city's burgeoning knowledge economy based around science, tech and big data. The Met Office lost one of its most famous clients last February when the BBC instead brought in Dutch weather provider Meteo Group to provide its weather forecasts, bringing to an end a 94-year relationship. Professor Penny Endersby, CEO Met Office, Exeter. In fact, Meteo Group uses Met Office data, but its interpretation and presentation is different. Professor Endersby said, "We still have lots of interaction with the BBC every day, but it did make us look at how best we could get our forecasts out there, because not everyone consumes their weather from the 6 o'clock news. We developed the app and our YouTube channel to get wider reach, and we wish the BBC and the Meteo Group every success." The Met Office has one of the world's most advanced supercomputers that can run 15 trillion calculations per second, crunching 2 billion climate weather observations per day, coming everywhere from satellites, weather balloons and surface monitoring devices. Met Office data is used by organizations around the globe, from Highways England, for civil and defense aviation, the World Aviation Forecast Center in the US, and for the military's own embedded forecasters and theater. It even provides the shipping forecast that you fall asleep to on Radio 4. There are around 1,800 staff based at the Exeter HQ, with scientists and researchers stationed around the world. And it is because of the Met Office's location that it has been able to attract a diverse pool of talent that, like herself, don't fancy city life and a job at Whitehall. And while she said the organization has made great strides in gender diversity, she wants to see more Black and ethnic minorities represented in her workforce. Professor Endersby joins the Met Office from the Defense Science and Technology Laboratory, DSTL, where she led the Cyber and Information Systems Division and was acting Chief Technical Officer as well as a non-exec director of Plowshare Innovations, the MOD's technology transfer organization. In short, she spent a lot of time designing armory and blowing up tanks. Used to working in a male-dominated field, she recalls using a marker pen to draw a bikini on a page 3 pinup that was hung up in the dugout. She said, "It didn't bother me at all, not to say that it was right and should have been acceptable, because it wasn't and certainly isn't now. They say that history is written by the victors and I wonder if, for those that did bother, they didn't stick around, but you should not have to develop a thick skin to do your job. That there is still a way to go for female equality and it does, therefore, need to be talked about. Overt sexism is largely dealt with now, I think, but unconscious bias still goes on and that's not just for men but women as well. For me, it's more important to be a good CEO rather than a female one."